In this video, traders, we're going to look at the PurpleBricks business model. Stay tuned. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. All right, so PurpleBricks listed on the London Stock Exchange. We're going to look at the chart in a second, but it is a business model that is disrupting traditional estate agents. I want to talk about the business model, the pros, cons, and then look at the chart and see what's going on. So the traditional business model in the UK for estate agents is this. You go in and you pay a commission based on the sale price of your property. So you instruct an agent and they say, okay, 1% commission based on completion. You sell your property for, let's say you sell it for £100,000 for easy calculations, then you will pay £1,000 on to your estate agent plus VAT normally. So that's generally how it works. And of course, as the price of the property goes up, you can see you spend more money. If you've got a £1 million flat, if you've got a £1 million house, then you're going to be paying £10,000 if it's 1%. And actually, when you go up to kind of those levels, 1% is quite cheap. It might even be at 2%, 3%, 1.5%, those kind of numbers. So that's the order of magnitude. And the theory is that the idea is that the agent is working for you. They won't get paid unless they sell your property. There's also generally two types of contract as well. You've got a sole agency contract and multiple agency contract. If you're a sole agency, it's slightly cheaper. Multiple agency, generally speaking, they want a bit more money because they might do a lot of the work and another agent might sell it. And there's kind of lock-in periods and stuff like that. I mean, obviously with any contract, you can negotiate it, and if you've got a deal, there's a deal to be done. But fundamentally, it's a pay on performance model. The agent will sell your property and then they'll bill you for the amount and you pay them, you move on. Now, PurpleBricks came along and they thought, you know what, we can kind of disrupt it in a couple of ways. Number one, we can change the fee structure. So we can charge a fixed fee to list, much cheaper than if you're going with a traditional high street agent. Now, it depends on the value of your house. PurpleBricks at the moment vary slightly. Last time I checked, it was slightly more expensive in central London than it was the rest of the country, but it's around about the sort of £800 to £1,000 mark to list. So they list your property, they put a board up outside, and you list it on Rightmove, they list it on kind of probably Zoopla, all the property portals that most estate agents will do. And you kind of then have access to an online portal where you can deal with the transaction. So it's disrupting a little bit more the traditional model as well. The traditional model is, you know, you're literally dealing with a person. The person deals with, the agent deals with your solicitor, who deals with a buyer solicitor, and then that buyer solicitor deals with their agent, and etc. etc. So there's kind of a lot of people in the chain. So the online transaction management theory of PurpleBricks is you log in, everything's updated, and you can see what's going on and get full access to it there. Whereas before you might have to ring up and then they'd say, okay, I need to speak to the solicitor, then they'd ring them and then they'd wait and it'd be multiple days and it'll be kind of that. So they're trying to streamline the whole thing. Now, the way they also do it is I believe, this may have changed, but I believe they use self-employed agents. So the agents are on some kind of commission structure. Now, that might not be correct. It might not be self-employed, but they're definitely on some kind of commission base. I assume they've got a basic and then they get a commission for each property that they get listed. I think that's the way they do it actually, rather than self-employed. I thought they were self-employed, but actually I think they're on a basic, then they get a kind of commission as a standard salesperson would do. So that keeps their costs down, PurpleBricks costs down. The other thing is, the one thing to consider before we kind of go to the chart is that it's cheaper potentially, but it's versus the pay on performance. So if you think your property is going to fly off the shelves, you think it's like a good property, it's priced competitively, it's presented nicely, you're probably going to go with PurpleBricks, right? Because you get it listed on all the portals, you get the access to online management, and you're away. You can pay £1,000, you might save yourself kind of 5-10 grand or something. If you've got something that's perhaps needs a little bit more care, a little bit more selling, perhaps you're selling a larger country home or something that's a lifestyle kind of position, so it needs to be staged nicely, the photos need to be kind of done with much more professional, a better brochure. The type of buyer is someone who does come into a high street agent and consults and says, what have you got? This is kind of my specifications and my requirements. What do you have? Then that kind of fits probably more with the traditional estate agent model, where they're going to sell it. They're going to say, hey, have you considered this? It might not be in your area, but perhaps it's slightly cheaper than you wanted. It's got those 6 bedrooms that you needed. It's got the outbuilding, whatever the kind of criteria are. Then a traditional agent might be better than just sticking on PurpleBricks. So we've got these pros and cons. Anyway, let's have a look at the charts, guys. So this has just gone crazy. You know, we IPO'd, well, it IPO'd back in 2006 at about £1. Went up to 520 pretty quickly. I say pretty quickly over a couple of years. We're now back to 150. So the problem is, I know if we have a quick look at the market cap at the moment, just to give us some perspective, a market cap of 449 million. So it was way more than that before. So the issue we have here is that this is people who are buying this or investing in this is a bet on this disrupting the online or the traditional estate agent model and everyone coming into it. Now, there's been a lot of controversy around PurpleBricks because in theory it sounds good, right? You kind of pay up front and most people are going to save money unless you've got a really kind of cheap flat or property. You're going to save money theoretically, but something has come out, and there was a report kind of a couple of months ago by the time I filmed this video that said even though PurpleBricks are saying that they're selling 80% of properties, those were actually sold subject to contract, and a lot of the time sales fall through because you have chains of people who are in a kind of chain, you know, a buyer is a seller and the buyer and seller, buyer and seller. It only takes one of those to pull out and the whole chain breaks and the whole sale falls through. And there's some statistic like 50-60% of kind of chains fall through over a certain number of people in the chain. So that number was a bit misleading, and some people did some research and said, well, actually, you only really sell 50% or 51% of your properties, in which case, as they framed it and said it's £1,000 coin flip, because in reality you've got a 50% chance of selling your property and you're paying £1,000. You're kind of weighing up the odds of saying, well, do I pay someone 5k and I only pay them if I get a sale at the price I want, or do I pay somebody 1k regardless of whether they get a sale or not? All of a sudden that becomes a little bit more of a decision, right? Because before you're thinking, well, I'll stick £1,000 in and I'm probably going to sell it, that'll be fine, I'll leave it on until it sells. But what people are doing is they're paying the grand, they're getting it listed, it's on there, it's sitting there doing nothing. PurpleBricks, then I'm being just playing devil's advocate here, by the way, PurpleBricks then don't really have an incentive to sell it. They've got their grand, they've done everything they said they're going to do, they've taken the photos, they've come around, they've arranged viewings, they've given you the online portal, they've listed it, it sticks for a while. In theory, the sales agents for PurpleBricks have probably got their commission already from that. They are now out hunting for more inventory to put on PurpleBricks listing. They're not really incentivized to sell your property. They're not really incentivized to say, well, why don't we take some fresh photos? You know, the season's changed a little bit. Why don't we kind of dress it up a little bit more? Why don't I start to market it to perhaps people in another city that can commute in and realize that the value, or whatever it may be? You get the idea. You know, we're selling property. If you've only sold property, you've been involved in property, you know that kind of is the game. So there's that kind of double-edged sword with it, whereas a traditional agent won't be getting paid. And they might say, hey, listen, you know, the easy thing to do is say reduce the price, but the better thing to do is say, well, let's reduce it a little bit, but let's change some things around, let's change the way. And they look at things like, how many viewings has it had actually on the portals, how many viewings have you had through the door, have you had any offers? And just like, you know, any business, they'll look at which part of that is breaking down and then try and adjust it. So look at the chart here, guys. You know, this has been a downtrend for the last year. It's still struggling. There's some controversy over the business model. They're expanding aggressively into other countries, but the kind of bear argument is, well, actually you haven't really got a biggest foothold yet. You kind of had a big boom because you came along and disrupted everything, but ultimately you haven't really proven the model, and you've expanded very, very quickly to try and get that foothold in before other people use the same model. But in actual fact, the model isn't as efficient, as effective as it was. So there's two theories there. One is, do they tweak and adjust it and kind of maybe come up with a hybrid, or do they come up with a better offering for the same price, in which case that might hammer the traditional high street agents? Or do they kind of push on with where they're going, people start to get some horror stories, and then PurpleBricks just becomes a nothing? Or does it completely, you know, overtake everything, kills off the high street agents, and then there's only left with a few online agents? Anyway, guys, that's the PurpleBricks, based in the UK. Well, we're listed on the London Stock Exchange. As I say, they're expanding to other countries. It's an interesting one, stock I'm actually watching, pretty interested in that, along with the Rightmove and others in the property industry. I like to segment things off in these kind of little ideas and clusters and just see what's going on. So I'm watching the news on that. Any thoughts you've got on that, stick in the comment section below. Take care, see you next one. Whatever you're doing, get your risk managed. Goodbye.